Hi Sagittarius, welcome back to my channel Tarot C. I am Z and I'm going to be doing your tarot reading, finding out what are the messages with the cards that come out in today's reading for you. Thank you so much for joining and for being here for the reading. So let's begin. Let's find out what cards come out and what messages come through the cards that come out in today's reading. So the first card we have is the Four of Pentacles. We have some earth sign energy with this. You could be dealing with a Virgo, Taurus, or even a Capricorn. And we have the High Priestess in the reverse, and you also have some Cancer energy with this. You could also be dealing with a Cancer. And we have the Nine of Pentacles, and at the bottom of the deck we've got the Temperance card, and we have some more Sagittarius energy. Could be dealing with another Sagittarius as well with this. But the Temperance card showing up over here, this does feel like an energy of really going with the flow when it comes to the way in which things are unfolding and things are going and progressing in the situation. I do feel like with the Temperance card showing up over here, it feels like having a lot of patience towards the situation and towards someone, and really kind of taking it easy and things kind of developing at a moderate pace. I do feel like with the Four of Pentacles showing up over here though, this does feel like an energy of kind of coming across a bit closed off when it comes to the person you are dealing with. At times it may seem like they are kind of holding back or they're a bit closed off, but I do feel like this person being someone who's quite cautious in opening up and even opening up themselves to the situation, but also to you. I do feel like with this Four of Pentacles showing up over here, this feels like an energy of also kind of being in a space where somebody is kind of trying to ensure that they have the maximum sense of security in a situation before they completely invest themselves in it. And I do feel like with this Four of Pentacles showing up over here, this could also be like trying to be able to gauge whether they can trust the situation. I do feel like with this High Priestess showing up in the reverse though, this feels like an energy of really being you being quite open with this person, and even being in a space where it's like you're being quite candid with them and being very it's like you're being quite expressive. I do feel like with the High Priestess showing up in the reverse, this feels like not holding back. And I do get that with this High Priestess card showing up over here. It does feel like also being in a space where you may actually feel a lot of your intuition kind of tagging at you at this time in this connection. And I do feel like a lot of that that sense of intuition or that gut feeling or instinct being something that's actually trying to guide you towards something or trying to get your attention. And with the Nine of Pentacles showing up over here, this energy does feel like really being in a space where there is enjoyment over where somebody is at right now in life. I do feel like this feels like a very independent energy. So when it comes to the person you are dealing with, I do feel like you're dealing with someone who has something going for them. But I do also get that this person is also someone who could be more so used to or feel like they do better on their own. So you do get that when it comes to being able to embrace a union, it's something they need to adjust to. So I'm going to clarify these cards. We have the Eight of Wands. And we have the Knight of Swords. And we have the Five of Wands in the reverse. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Nine of Wands. So with the Nine of Wands showing up over here, this does feel like an energy of kind of being in a situation where I do feel like there's a desire to fight for things, or there's a desire to make things work, even if it requires a fight to be put up in order to make things work. I do feel like with this Nine of Wands showing up over here, this does feel like an energy of somebody who has as far as their past and how their past is influencing them, it is something that does influence them quite greatly when it comes to the way they show up in this connection. But with this Eight of Wands showing up over here, I do feel like when it comes to how this person feels about you, they do feel something quite strong for you. And I do feel like it does go quite deep. I do feel like this person being deeply affected by your presence and even by this connection. And with the Eight of Wands showing up over here, this does also feel like being able to hear from this person. And I do feel like messages coming in from this person. But with this Knight of Swords showing up over here, this also feels like an energy of having communication, and it feels like the communication actually progressing quite quickly. I do feel like with the Knight of Swords showing up over here, this energy even feels like things moving very quickly, to the point it feels like there's a sense of things moving forward quicker than they started, so it feels sudden, especially with the Temperance card showing up over here as well. But with the Five of Wands showing up in the reverse, this does feel like an energy of actually trying to be able to get on the same page and trying to be able to make things work in a way that's like you're on the same team. I do feel like with this Five of Wands showing up over here, this could even be trying to make amends, trying to be able to figure things out and to be able to get on the same page. With this Five of Wands showing up over here in the reverse, I do feel like there is a pretty passionate energy between the two of you in this connection. Feels like also a desire to be able to kind of really simmer things down and kind of be able to diffuse tension, and also get that there's a desire for being able to get to a place where things feel steady in this connection. So I'm going to clarify these cards. So we have worth, waiting for. And we have very soon. And we have the heart-to-heart conversations. So with the word waiting for card showing up over here, this does feel like an energy of really being in a space where this person is quite committed to the situation, quite committed to you, and quite committed to the connection. I do feel like with the word waiting for card showing up over here, feels like things having had been off to a slow start, or having had really gradually progress from a space where there was a lot of really trying to be able to see if this connection is the one, or if it's worth being able to really fully develop themselves and also open up in. I do feel like with the worth waiting for card showing up over here, it feels like divine timing being at play in your connection as well. But it does feel like a connection that is rooted in something real, something strong, and something true. I do feel like it is worth a connection worth waiting for. And with this very soon card showing up over here, it does feel like even though things start out quite slowly, or may start out in a place where it's like things are still being tested a little bit, with this very soon card showing up over here and this Knight of Swords showing up over here, once things get to a certain point where there is a level of certainty for self as far as wanting to actually to do this, I do feel like things kind of take off quite quickly, and there's a lot of it's like once things start between the two of you, it starts to progress quite quickly. I do get that with this heart conversations card showing up over here, that there is communication, and also get this pertaining to the Five of Wands in the reverse. It feels like a conversation headed towards being able to reconcile, or to be able to get on the same page. But I do feel like communication being something that is really happening with a purpose. It feels like it's very meaningful conversations, and I do also get that there's a level of depth and the chemistry also being reflected in your conversations that you have in this connection. With this Eight of Wands showing up over here, it does feel like also a strong spark, or being able to really recognize the spark in your conversations. So those are the messages I'm getting with these cards for you, Sagittarius, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, Sagittarius.